searching, solving mysteries in the night. Chasing shadows, finding answers, shining bright light. No one's left behind in the darkness, all alone. With a heart like a siren, she brings the lost ones home. Silent cries in the dark no longer have to be. For justice, wheels keep turning, granny on the beat. Broken voices find their power, call out hope again. When Granny's crime busters run, no victims left to pay. Bravery in her veins, truth she won't disguise. With a fire in her eyes, she's got nothing to deny. Granny fights for justice, never backs down from the call. For the voiceless and the missing, she'll stand tall.
Hello, hello, everyone. How is everybody doing tonight? I hope you're all doing great. I hope you all had a wonderful Mother's Day weekend. Happy Mother's Day to those who are mothers out there. Everybody enjoyed it. Springtime is my favorite time, spring and summer. I don't know, something about the renewed growth outside the trees and the flowers, and there's just a nice breeze today. I love it. Hello, Ginger. Good to see you. Good to see you. So, guys, I've been telling you that I've been kind of looking up things about the Summer Wells case, and I figured, well, tonight's a good night. There's just a lot of repetition going on in the Sebastian Rogers and even in the Lily and Jack Sullivan case. Oh, that sounds good, K9. I have had a craving for Italian beef, good old Chicago Italian beef. So I'm going to order that one of these days. Have it delivered. But Caesar salad does sound good. I love salads. Caesar salads, and I love chef salads. So, today I am going to spotlight for missing children because I had them all set up and already had already spotlighted them in my morning show. So I'm going to spotlight them tonight, so I get myself caught up here. And the first one is Tony Metcalf. He's been missing since May 27, 2024. Last seen Nashville, Tennessee, 14 years old, guys. He looks like a baby there, doesn't he? 5 feet 4 inches tall, 110 pounds, brown hair, and brown eyes. So just about a year he's been missing already. If anybody knows anything, please call 911, the Nashville Police Department, or 1-800-TBI-FIND. Next one is Tony Ford Jr. He's been missing since April 14th, 2025. He was last seen in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. He's 17 years old, 5 feet 10 inches tall, 140 pounds, black hair, and brown eyes. If anybody knows anything about Tony Ford's whereabouts or disappearance, please call 911, the Oak Ridge Police Department, or 1-800-TBI-FIND. The next one is Allison Odalis Ventura Gomez. Allison has been missing since July 12th, 2024. She was last seen in Bedford County, Tennessee. Allison is 17 years old, 5 feet 3 inches, 125 pounds, black hair, and brown eyes. If anybody knows anything about Allison's disappearance or her whereabouts, please contact 911, the Bedford County Sheriff's Department, or 1-800-TBI-FIND. Our last one for tonight is Tarlasia Harding. Tarlasia has been missing since November 4th, 2024. She was last seen in Nashville. 16 years old, 4 feet 11 inches tall, 130 pounds, black hair, and brown eyes. If anyone knows anything about Tarlasia's disappearance, please call 911, Nashville Police Department, or 1-800-TBI-FIND. Guys, my heart goes out to these kids. I got to tell you, it's horrific. Hi, Katie. I looked it up. Let me share my screen with you so you can see it. But as of February 2024, this map shows the number of missing kids per 100 residents, total active cases. So you can see that Oklahoma, Arizona, and Oregon have the most missing children, which I'm surprised about because we thought it was Tennessee, but Tennessee's not too far behind. We have Tennessee over here. We also have Arkansas, Louisiana, and then next to Arizona over there is New Mexico. Of course, Washington State, California, Maine. What I'm really surprised about is Illinois with Chicago. Not that many missing kids from there, you know? So this just kind of gives you an overview of what's going on, right? But Oklahoma and Arizona and Oregon are the worst states for missing children, according to this study in February 2024. Really sad. You're in Oregon, didn't know that, yeah. Well, and the way we did, the way we did our research, we must have had our numbers mixed up or something. We thought Tennessee was, right, for the square population, which it's not great, obviously. It's next in line after those 3 states, but just really something. You know, our kids are our future, and more, even trying to find things for my morning shows, guys, all I'm seeing is children that are being hurt and abused by their parents, and it's horrible. It's awful. It's like I can't get away from it no matter which way I turn, right? Terrific. Hello, Melissa. Good to see you. Katie. Glad you guys are here. So I want you guys to help me. I found a good video and I kind of recorded it on my own and then, broke it down so it wouldn't be quite as long. But it was by Vinnie Politan of showing the whole story behind Summer's disappearance, which is because I hadn't really gotten into that case. I wanted to see like an overview and play it for you guys and then have you guys tell me what else you know that are facts about this case, because it's horrific. Just another, we've got Sebastian, who our hearts are bleeding for, right? Now, all of a sudden, we've got Lily and Jack Sullivan, who it's just been a little over a week, and my heart breaks. 2 more children, and no, they're not from our country. It doesn't matter. right? Doesn't matter. They're gone, right? And everything that we're learning or beginning to suspect about the parents is kind of scary, and there's not a whole lot of information out there, and I don't want to be a part of spreading misinformation, guys. This case is too early on, right? Everyone is jumping on it, and I'm honestly so afraid that in the misinformation is going to be construed with the facts of the case. Yeah, little baby Dane, he was found. Yes, that was horrific. Um, that little baby Dane, he was the one that was found in the burn pile, right? Reminds me of Tylee Ryan, Lori Vallow's daughter. How 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 could any mother or father do that to their child or grandparent or whatever? You just recently learned of summer, so you won't be much help. Well, that's all right. If nothing else, we'll all learn together. Yes, exactly, Canine. The rumors are flying. It's making it hard to find the truth every day. I'm telling you, even though I took 2 days off, I still every day have been scouring the internet trying to find accurate information, right? Oh, baby Dane was found in the river. He okay, gotcha. Okay, there was another child who was found in the um burn pile. I think the mother and the grandfather did it or some dumb thing. I don't know. Ugh. Um, okay. So let's go ahead and I'm going to stop this one and we're going to share this one. And let me know if you guys can hear this okay. All right. You see it all right? Okay, so it is with Vinnie Politan. Okay.
Subject of my investigation is the disappearance of a 5-year-old girl from Tennessee. Her name is Summer Wells. What makes this one so puzzling is that it happened in the middle of the day from her home when there were adults at the house. Here's her story. 5-year-old Summer Wells was growing up in rural northeastern Tennessee, a beautiful part of the country where nature runs free and folks own lots of land, free of crowds, buildings, and neighbors. Summer was living with her parents and siblings and grandma in a home on top of the hill, a place that seems very peaceful, very quiet, and most of all, very safe. But one June day in 2021, her family says she went inside and was never seen or heard from again, seemingly vanishing from this vast property in Hawkins County. There are many questions that have been unanswered in this case, questions that could shed some light on what this girl is and what happened to her. We will examine those questions and find some answers as the search for this little girl from Tennessee continues. So this goes back to 2021. I mean, super high profile story, case still unsolved. I want you to take a look at an image, and they do age progressions. She disappeared when she was 5, so they put together a progression last summer of what she would look like at this new age 3 years later. So you look at those pictures, and it brings to mind, beautiful little girl. But what happened? Which brings us to really the most important question, and my first question tonight.
which is about this little girl from Tennessee. Where could she be? It seems there's a lot of possibilities of what happened here, and the case is far from being solved. I don't even know if there's any hot leads right now in this one. Let me bring in my guests who know a lot about this story, a lot about this investigation. Former homicide detective, host of The Interview Room with Chris McDonough. Chris McDonough is with us. And prosecutor Jason Jensen. Thank you to you both.
Okay. Sorry about that. Let's try it a different way then. Go right directly to the one. So let me share my screen. I don't know why that's not working well, but we'll try it this way.
Disappeared when she was 5. So
Let me know if
they
it's
put together
better.
a progression last summer of what she would look like at this new age 3 years later. So you look at those pictures and it brings to mind, beautiful little girl. But what happened here? Which brings us to really the most important question. And my first question tonight, which is about this little girl from Tennessee. Where could she be? It seems there's a lot of possibilities of what happened here, and the case is far from being solved. I don't even know if there's any hot leads right now in this one. Let me bring in my guests who know a lot about this story, a lot about this investigation. Former homicide detective, host of The Interview Room with Chris McDonough. Chris McDonough is with us. And private investigator Jason Jensen. Thank you to you both. Chris, let me throw that question out to you first. Where could she be? What are the possibilities that we're looking at here?
Yeah, it's a great question, Vinny. And for the last 3 years, thousands of people have been asking that particular question. And the possibilities from obviously a law enforcement perspective is it foul play? Is it an accident? And, because there was an accident, could they have covered up something? There's so many theories that could be applied to this. But that is the $1 million question at this point. Because you and I both know that 5-year-olds, they just don't vanish from their house.
No, there's some intervening action, force, something. I want to take a look, Jason, at a timeline here so we can kind of go through this for the folks watching.
Before he gets into the timeline, which is one of the reasons why I really liked this video. Yes, K9. He went down in that basement. I was scared. He didn't even want to go down in that basement, right? I don't blame him. And what was really awful is when they turned the camera to the right, there was porn playing on the TV in the mother and father's room. And I will say this, to each his own, but I'm sorry, if children are running around your house, porn should not be playing. I'm just saying. Yeah, I wouldn't have gone down there for nothing either. No way. Yeah, it was really sickening, Katie. And Chris McDonough has been on this case since the beginning, as far as I can tell. He actually walked the property with Candace, Summer's mother. He showed us the home, which was horrendous. And I can honestly say that I am glad that the boys were taken away, right? I have a picture of the entire family when Summer was little. Okay. So the 3 boys, and then you had little Summer. These boys have been taken away from the home now after Summer went missing. But I look at this little girl, little mischievous eyes, and my heart bleeds for her, right? And this is the house. This is the property. Actually, it's looks better in this picture than it did when Chris McDonough was walking it, which I'm really surprised about this up here. I don't know if somebody just put that there or if that really is on top of the house. I don't know. But Grandma lives in this trailer. I mean, I don't know. I understand that there's people who are poor and don't have money. I get that, right? But this house was scary. This house was scary. Yeah. I agree with you, Canine, so far, and I don't even really know everything that went on. She loved her Sunday school teacher. Ah, all right. Well, let's get to the timeline, but I just kind of wanted to say I really give Chris McDonough kudos for everything that he has done in this case because it's incredible, in my opinion. Incredible. All right, let's continue on.
June 15th, 2021, Summer Wells is reported missing around 6:30 p.m. Last seen somewhere around her home, outside her home. June 17th, the search expands to cover a 1-mile radius surrounding the home. June 26th, TBI, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, looks for a red Toyota pickup seen in an area where Summer disappeared.
Does anybody know anything about this red pickup truck and why they were looking for it? Was there a reason for that? Yeah, I love Vinny too. The things going on inside is scarier. Yeah. But does anybody know anything about this red Toyota pickup? Why they were looking for it? And have they classified this? No idea. Have they classified this as an abduction? Or is it just kind of like Sebastian? They don't know. I don't know. I have some questions, obviously.
Could have seen or heard something. June 26, 2021, Summer's brothers are removed from the home by the Department of Children's Services.
Thank the
October
Lord.
31st, 2021, Don Wells, her father, is arrested for driving under the influence. February 4th, 2022, Summer's 6th birthday. February 4th, 2023, Summer's 7th birthday. June 14th, 2023, TBI released the age progressed photos that we're showing you. Then February 4th, 2024, Summer's 8th birthday. Then June 14th, 2024, TBI released a video update on the case.
So that means she would be 9 now, huh? She went missing when she was 5. Guys, this is horrible. How can a child just go poof? How can a child just go poof? I do not cannot understand that. Not in this day and age. I understand she lived in the boonies, but how? Oh, the truck was just seen in the area. Her case seems to be getting more attention now. Probably because, I think what's going on is there isn't anything to really talk about in Sebastian's case. We've all been on Sebastian's case for a year. And there's nothing new, right? All eyes are on the parents. Yeah. And so now people are relooking back at Summer's case, and they're on Lily and Jack's case, but there's nothing coming out about that. So the rumor mill is running rampant, and short of actually speaking with a neighbor who knows something, how can we take anything as fact unless it comes from law enforcement right now? Because the little bit that we've seen of Malaya and Daniel, guys, it doesn't look too great. In the age progression, Melissa, yeah. I agree with you. I think they aged her too much, right? They made her face look old, in my opinion, and in my opinion, they just aged her too much. I thought the same thing, and I'm surprised other people have caught on to that as well, because I've thought the same thing. They aged her way too much. Oh, Summer's grandma passed away. Is that right? Wow. Yeah, that's sad. Did she talk out, say anything? Because now I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, fact, fiction, whatever. But there was a scream. I heard that as well. So I don't know. But I have a very bad feeling about, she left the property as well. Well, that doesn't speak well of the parents. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, let's continue on here.
I want to take a look at that right now. Let's take a look.
When I see the picture of Summer Wells, I see my daughter. And I can tell you that if my daughter was missing, I would sure hope that somebody was looking for her every day. My name is Josh Melton. I'm the Assistant Director of the Criminal Investigation Division for the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations. We don't have the evidence in this case to know for sure whether or not Summer was abducted or whether or not she walked away from her home and became lost. It's really important to us to not focus all of our efforts on just one of those two.
All right, Jason Jensen, you've investigated so many cases like this. Where are you starting? What strikes you about the attempt to get to the truth here and get to the answer of where she could be?
Yeah, Vinny, the most important thing is to keep an open mind. Like the director just said, is they don't know which theory. There's really basically only three things that can happen in a disappearance involving a small child like that. Either a wander off or an abduction or a death and concealment. They've ruled out the death and concealment pretty much by doing the polygraphs with the parents, and they both passed. So we're really focusing on whether this child wandered off, got lost, and something happened to the child. That's why they did the mile radius search.
Okay, so he just said the parents both passed their polygraphs. So they've ruled out death and concealment. Guys, I'm not so sure I agree with that. Polygraphs cannot be used in a court of law because they're not accurate. Okay? Yeah, the neighbor said she heard a scream. I don't believe the woman who said she heard a scream. She knew how those children were living and said nothing until it was too late. Okay. Well, and kids will scream. Kids scream when they're having fun. Granted, it can be a different kind of a scream, right? But we saw the scream with Lily, and that scream to me was disturbing, but it didn't look as though she was disturbed. She stopped when she was told to stop. Children scream, okay? So can we take that to the bank? No, I don't think so. I mean, we can keep it in the back of our minds in case we get more evidence to go with that scream, right? Candace did Long Lives Night After Night. I heard she was, well, I saw a little bit of her, but I didn't go there because I didn't want my take of her to influence my decision about the case. Does that make sense? So if I watch her after the fact, and I don't know. I wanted to kind of learn more about the case before I actually listened to her. You know, Katie, I heard that too. That I mean, I think I saw a video that said something like that, and I didn't watch it, because there's a lot to watch in Summer's case. I'm trying to stick with factual videos. I don't wanna just listen to every random viewpoint out there, right? I wanna try to stick with factual things, and, Vinnie Politan kinda sticks with facts, right? Um But yeah, that is a creepy statement. If he does know that, well, first of all, I would say, why did he say that then? That's stupid, right? About as stupid as Chris talking about how to bury someone in concrete, right? Or about as stupid as Chris saying he he'll never be found. Or this is one that's going to be researched and go down in the books. So stupid parents, in my opinion. You you would say something like that. You know, yeah. Well, and that chopping off her hair thing and saying she wanted that done, what was that about? Did the kids have lice or something, and that was their way of getting rid of them, chopping everybody's hair off? Because they chopped their own too. That's where I would go with that. The neighbor who says she heard a scream has been making money on YouTube. Oh. Everybody's gotta get their piece, I guess. Ah, I this ca these cases, guys, are disturbing, you know? Uh, the more we got into Sebastian's case, the more disturbing it became. The more we're getting into Jack and Lily's case, the more disturbing it became. This one, same thing. I mean, and these are the ones that seem to be taking off where everybody's talking about, right? And but the point is, I mean, Summerwell, Sebastian, um, these cases have become a mainstay for YouTube at minimum, never mind all the rest of the social media out there. How are these children not found because of it? I mean, even At Night has put Summer's picture up next to Sebastian's. How are these kids not found? Are they not still with us? Or is it a trafficking situation? What the heck is what I gotta say. $500,000 reward and nobody's talking. Nobody's talking. Let's continue on.
Search and then find her. So, there's a real possibility of the abduction. And you got to keep your mind open, because we do know that this situation does occur. Like, I have a case, the 1982 case of Rachel Runyon. She was abducted 15 feet from behind her home. So it can happen.
Let me ask you, Chris, the red Toyota pickup, what do we know about that vehicle? Why is that something that law enforcement talked about?
Well, first of all, the red Toyota pickup was introduced by the father of the victim. It wasn't an independent witness or anything like that. The dad says, there could have been a vehicle down at the end of the driveway, et cetera. And so we have to take into consideration, what's the geographic region telling you as an investigator? And in this particular situation, the victim was last seen in the basement of the house. And so in order for a stranger abduction to have occurred, then that suspect had to know on that particular day, at that moment, that child would be in that basement. The victim risk continuum tells us that is a high improbability. And so you then go back to the situation where you go, okay.
So I agree with Chris and I don't. And the reason I say I don't is because there is a outside door to the house, to the basement, that Candace said Summer used to sit right outside of it. And then you could even see where she actually had a path to her little swing. So if that door was unlocked, you know what I'm saying? But according to Candace, she wasn't gone that long. At least Grandis had a nicer trailer than Daniel's mom. She did. 20 plus dogs on the property and none of them barked. That's true. That is true. None of them barked. So yeah, in that case, then I guess I would agree with Chris, because for one, if Candace wasn't gone that long, if we're going to believe what she says, right? If she wasn't gone that long and Summer went downstairs through that scary hole downstairs, what the odds of somebody getting onto that property and in that basement, how would they know she went down there? Because Candace told the boys to watch her. And they were in the kitchen watching TV. Or whatever that room is. I don't know if that's kitchen or... They were at the dining room table watching TV. What a mess. Hello, Brenda Joe. Good to see you. So, how did How could somebody have gotten in there that quickly? I don't think it was a stranger abduction. Because I know Chris McDonough said there were 16 dogs on that property that he counted. When he pulled up. Probably more than 20, like K9 said. So either, and those dogs were barking at him, right? Summer looked like she was dressed up to go somewhere in that car video. The one where she was sleeping on the milk. Yeah. This case is disturbing. It's all I got to say. Interesting. All right, let's continue on.
Who was the last one there, and what are the circumstances around that? And I think that's where the authorities have been focusing.
You know, Jason, when we cover stories like this that happen in more populated areas, you know, whether it's a neighborhood like Sebastian Rogers in another part of Tennessee, or in a city like Nashville, or you know, any other city across the country. This is a very rural area. There, you know, it's not like you're in a neighborhood. There's not a lot of folks nearby. If someone comes by, I think you might notice it. It reminds me a little bit of the situation with Suzanne and Barry Morphew. Suzanne Morphew went missing from.
So this is the kitchen I was talking about. I guess it's the kitchen. The boys were sitting at this table. So I guess this is the kitchen, right?
Her home, they were kind of isolated as well. How important is that part of the investigation, the geography and the you know, where all this allegedly took place?
Well, yeah, terrain, especially in rural areas, plays a major.
And this is the hole with a ladder leading down to the basement that Summer went down, and Chris McDonough went down as well.
Major part, like basically Chris was alluding to, if it's not a high active area, you know, high access, you're not really going to have a lot of access by strangers. So the problem that we have here is, how did she get away from the house without being detected? Because in rural areas, everybody knows if there's a car nearby, you know, you're driving down the street, you see a truck pulled over to the side. In those kind of communities, they want to pull over and offer assistance. So access to the home, access to the child is really going to play a big part here. And that's why early on there was a lot of threats and harassment.
Okay, so I do have a question if anybody knows. Great minds, K9. So that's my question. The boys were taken away right away. So were they asked what happened to their sister? You know, now those boys have been gone from the home all this time, right? I don't think they ever went back. I don't think they ever gave, I hope they never gave them back. But anyway, did they ever say anything about what happened to their sister? That's my question. Yeah, I remember during one of Chris's interviews, Chris McDonough's interviews, when he was touring the house with Candace, she vaguely mentioned, but I picked up on it, when she was talking about going shopping with Summer and then, you know, bringing home the groceries, and she went to the house and she told the boys, come help us or whatever. She said they were locked in there. That's what she said. You heard they were adopted and questioned. So they were alone, but some say they had been with Don. So evidently, whatever that they talked about was not enough to put Candace or Don in any trouble. So, unless, do you really think that if they had been adopted, guys, that they would keep any kind of truth from the police? Do you think it's possible that Candace and Don told them, "Don't you dare ever say anything," and so they haven't? Or do you think that they just told the truth and there's nothing potentially leading to any kind of conviction for their parents? Why do you say that, K9? The boys wouldn't have heard anything said between the parents. Because they said the 9-year-old was downstairs and slept in the same room as Summer. The other two boys slept upstairs. Yeah, this case is extremely confusing, isn't it? I don't get it. I don't get it. Yeah, I heard that they were there the day before. So right. Well, there was a day or two when they said the timeline. Those kids were picked up, what, a couple days after she went missing. So Candace and Don would have had time to gather them together and say, hey, yeah, one said she went to the basement to play with her toys, which I get if that's the truth. But then she could have walked out that door, that basement door, right? I, I'm not going to put that up on the screen, K9, but I know, right? Um, so all I'm saying is that you have to wonder. The boys were older, a little older, right? I think the youngest was 9 at the time. I'm assuming the two youngest were downstairs by the parents and the two older ones were upstairs. I don't know what all their ages were, but that's what I'm assuming. I could be wrong. Were they told to keep their mouth shut and so they have all this time? Or do you think that when they knew they weren't going back home and they were being adopted, that they would tell the truth? Or do you think they've been telling the truth all along? I'm curious because I find it really difficult to believe that and Ginger and Canine both think that they sold her. Okay, if they did, when? They have 8 kids and they have none of them? Wait a minute. They have 8 kids. Where were the other 4 that weren't in the house? Were they taken away from them too? Okay, so that would make sense. If she went down in the basement to play with her toys, according to her brothers, that's kind of an alibi for them, doesn't make them complicit to anything, right? But Don takes her and hands her off. 8 kids. All right. I'm just gonna say what I'm thinking, you guys. If those children were taken away from them early on, before any of this happened, hello, factory girl, before any of this happened with Summer, they should have tied her tubes and given him a vasectomy. I'm sorry, neither one of these people belong having children. I know that's probably not going to be a popular opinion, but come on. Oh. He had 2 older, she had 2 older, a baby taken away in the hospital. They had 4 together. Oh my gosh. Thought the video at the pond with Chris and Candace was very telling. Candace got emotional. The minor young man at the pond with Candace was very evasive with Chris. Okay, and who can tell me anything? See, you guys are helping me learn about this case. Who can tell me anything about this other young man? I don't even know, think of his name right now, that was somewhat a part of their I mean, I don't know if I heard correctly, but Candace was sleeping with this other kid or something. Anybody tell me anything about that one? In the meantime, we'll listen to Vinny a little bit here.
See, by the wells, because everybody thought it was a low probability that, you know, it was an abduction.
Okay, guests are staying with us. Coming up next, what does the family property actually look like?
Okay, so they're gonna, which is cool. They're gonna look at that. But I did want to bring up something here. Maybe it's not in this one, I guess. It's been something I saw earlier. His name is Hunter, 15 years old. He hung out with them. Heard rumor of being her squeeze, was with them the day they went to the pond. Yeah, I remember the name Hunter, and I have heard that same rumor that she was sleeping with him. Well, I mean, she had porn on that TV, but let's go ahead and watch the interview of the
Looking at
property.
this terrain, and I'm going, holy cow, she could have even. There's a million possibilities here.
Yeah, there's
down there, and there's the road down there.
Did you know that in middle-income communities, there are about
Okay, let me-
13 books for every child?
But in some underserved communities, there's only
Where would a suspect have been, in your opinion, in this?
My opinion?
Yeah, in this area.
They could have been sitting anywhere. They could have been sitting over here, off the little edge right here, or where the bus is, that little bushy area right there. They could have been sitting
Right
there.
out here.
Yeah. And
Okay, come show me.
What's up?
That's all right.
And I just recently found out that there was.
Okay, so she's showing Chris McDonough around. At first, the dogs were barking. Now they're not. I don't believe her story. Oh, they could have been sitting over here. They could have been sitting over there. The dogs would have been barking. So, does she not think anything of the dogs barking then? I'm just saying.
Like, I guess he's a child molester.
Okay.
That lives like literally 8 minutes from my house, and he can literally walk from his house into my house within 8 minutes.
Okay.
And like that bushy area right there, you can't really tell if anybody's crouched down there or anything.
That's Chris McDonough at the home with Summerwell's mother, walking the property, trying to figure out what's going on there, because this is a case where a child is alleged to have disappeared in the middle of the day from that property, which brings me to my next question, another important one in this investigation, which is, what does the family property look like? Still with me, Chris McDonough, who was touring the property along with Jason Jensen. So guys, what I want to do, Chris, I want to show everyone the tour that you did. I think it gives us incredible insight here. Let's take a look.
So they aren't that far from the road.
Hey. You know, I have much more respect for what you're telling me by standing here.
Yeah.
And I got my little camera here, so when I'm looking at this terrain, and I'm going, holy cow, she could have even. There's a million possibilities here.
Yeah, there's
down there, and there's the road down there.
Yeah, that's the road. And that's my mom's house.
Okay.
Like literally, it's.
And this right here.
Usually you can see the road because they have went through here and mowed and took down a bunch of stuff away from the power lines.
Okay.
But usually it's full up. You can't even see the road.
That day, though, how was it? Was it full up, or
They
was it like this?
actually, that day and a few days prior to that, they were working on this.
Okay.
So
And
I've even come to a conclusion maybe one of them people have snatched it
Oh, interesting.
because they were all the way up here. On
Yeah,
my
I see.
property.
I see those the path down there. I see
Yeah.
the tracks down there.
Yep.
You're over there.
And they were all the way up here to my light pole.
Okay. And you told TBI all this,
I've
right?
told TBI this, yes.
Okay. Okay. And
Oh yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. One of the guys working on one of the electricians working on the light pole and trimming the trees took her. Come on. She gave him a can of twisted tea and vapes. Chris interviewed Hunter, his mom, grandma, and a friend. And his mom has since died. That's sad. Does he still hang out with Candace and Don? I hope not. Okay, let's continue.
yeah, I can see the cars going by. That is not far from your property.
Mm-mm.
Is there a holler down there? I mean, is there a river of some sort?
The creek runs all the way around the property.
And how deep is a creek? Okay, just so it's like an inch,
Yeah.
inch or two. Okay.
You'd be lucky to get wet enough to do anything.
Okay. So walk me through. You get home. You take the groceries inside. Is Don home, by the way?
No, he's
Okay.
not.
Okay.
Actually, I parked the truck and I opened both doors. It's really hard because this lawnmower is. But I opened the doors up and I shook her. I said, "Wake up, we're at home." She jumped right up.
Okay.
Like nothing. I unbuckled her and I said, "Come on." I said, "Mom, I'll be right back." Well, went in there and got the boys and they were sitting at the table. And I said, "Come on, let's get the groceries out." And we brought them all in the house, went through them all, did all that.
And this is her. That's her swing.
That's her swing right there.
Come show me her swing. Why is this? And who's this?
That is Smoking Boots. That's my boys' cat.
And how many dogs do you have here on the property? About.
Honestly, I don't know because people just keep dropping them off.
Hi. I know. Okay. Okay. Sorry. So this is her swing.
That's her swing.
This is her playground.
Yep.
She loved this area. Boy, I'm looking at this and this terrain, Candace, just strikes me as being so dense and just. Is that they say the dog trail? Where's this dog trail thing? That
I'm not sure, honestly.
there's so many of them.
The dogs go in every different.
Yeah, I
way.
saw the dogs came out of the woods as we were pulling up.
Yeah.
Okay.
They do that all the time.
Okay.
That trail right there, my boys, they ride those dirt bikes that are leaning against the truck over there.
Okay.
You can see there's one of them.
Okay.
And
those are like 50 cc's, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one ain't. I think it's only like 25, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, they go down that trail with their dirt bikes and then come back up on the road, up on the driveway and go around and stuff.
A lot of that video, extremely interesting. So, Chris, what did you take away from touring that property where Summer Wells allegedly disappeared from?
Yep. So, wanting to keep an open mind, right, Vinny, when I'm talking to Mom, about trying to understand what the suspect may have seen if this was, let's stay with the lane of an abduction of some sort. And the terrain is so thick and dense. And by the way, this is only about 3 weeks after the initial report of her disappearance. So this is pretty much what it looked like the day she would have disappeared. And so I thought to myself, okay, is it possible that somebody...
So the boys are already gone by this point, right? Interesting.
could have hid in those woods, could have come up behind, the back area there behind the camper, because you can see the road from the top of the property. But then again, you've got to think, okay, does the suspect expose themselves down on that road? Because you could even hear cars going by while I was there. And so Mom then explains that the only way she thought her daughter may have gone out of that house was through a basement door, which was on the left side of that house, looking at it in this shot. It would have been to the left of that. And that was down by the bus and right in that area, right there in that shot. That would have been what they call the dog trail. And so, the fact that somebody would have had to navigate all of these obstacles, et cetera, and that's the door, and get into that door to where Summer was. It really does raise a lot of questions about the abduction theory.
All right, Jason Jensen, the one thing that struck me as Chris is walking around the neighborhood, Chris is a nice guy, he's not going to harm anyone, the dogs. They don't even know how many dogs. The dogs are alerting to Chris, who is obviously in a friendly mode there. What are your thoughts about the dogs on that property and the prospects of a little girl wandering away without the dogs alerting, or someone taking her without the dogs alerting?
You know, Vinny, we were on the same mindset. When I was watching the video, from Chris, the thing that struck me the most was how many dogs were there. So obviously anytime a stranger would approach the home, I'm sure the dogs would bark at him, or at least gather down. Even friendly dogs will go down and greet somebody with tails wagging and everything. But certainly the first moment they're shocked by a stranger coming through the woods, they'd be barking and alerting the owners, I'm sure, is what their typical patterns are. I own dogs, and that's what my dogs do anytime someone approaches the front of the house. So I would think that in order for there to be any kind of viable abduction scenario, she'd have to wander off, like little girls do, chasing a butterfly or something, find herself far enough away from the home that she encounters somebody that shouldn't be there. That's about the only thing I can think of.
And Chris, with that scenario, going back to the property here, like I could see that happening in a much more densely populated place. You're at a park, you're at a mall, a child wanders off and can get scooped up, right? But here, it seems like there's a little more isolation. So someone would have to be lying in wait and just hoping that the child wanders away.
Yeah, absolutely, Vinny. And what you and Jason are talking about, just going back to the dogs for a second, when I pulled up, there were, I counted them, there were about 16 dogs that came out of the woods.
16 when you pulled up?
When I pulled up, there were 16, and I asked her, where are all these dogs coming from? And Mom said that folks in the area just dropped the dogs off in the neighborhood.
Did police check this hole underneath the house here? I'm wondering. I imagine they did, but well, I mean, I would hope so. How could they afford to feed 16 dogs and 4 children? What did Don do for a living? Does anybody know? Did Candace work? I imagine not. I mean, the story just gets more disturbing as we go on. I'm speechless, guys. I'm waiting to see if they do show the inside of this house. See if, yeah, they do show it. So,
and they all come up to that property.
Okay, to me that speaks volumes. That is incredibly insightful in all of this. All right, Jason. So as you look at the property, there are other possibilities here. Without pointing a finger at anyone, but if something happened to her and someone wanted to dispose of those remains in that terrain, do you think it would survive the level of searching that was done?
I would think initially, yeah, because the scent of cadavers isn't so strong with a fresh death. But as time goes on, certainly cadaver dogs could pick up the scent. So, but initially you're looking for displaced soil where you could see that there was, some shoveling or something in replacement of soil or disturbance of vegetation if there was some kind of clandestine burial. Other than that, I would feel that TBI did a sufficient job with their search as they've certainly moved on to other areas, including doing polygraphs. So it really kind of narrows it down. If it's not the parents doing some kind of concealment or some other hostile force, it's somebody from outside the home. And then the question really gets vague, who could that be?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for your help. Wow. Children don't just disappear. I'm Vinny Politan, and we'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues. Crowded malls, or sometimes walking home from school. But Summer disappeared in the middle of the day from her own house. Here's her story. Former homicide detective and host of The Interview Room, Chris McDonough, has done a lot of investigating of this case, and forensic psychiatrist, trial expert witness, author, and columnist, Dr. Carol Lieberman. What I want to do, Chris and Dr. Carol, is take a look at what Chris did going inside the home and showing us the last place where Summer Wells allegedly was. Let's take a look at that.
Them three were sitting right here, girl, with her eyes glued to the TV, like always. And I said, boys, where's your sister at? Well, she just went downstairs, mom, to play. So I went over here like this, because this is where the stairs are.
Okay.
It's actually down under there.
Oh, down into her
Down into
bedroom.
our bedroom, and then hers is on the other side.
Oh, okay, in the basement.
Yeah, in the basement.
Well, this makes sense now, see?
And then I yelled, I said, Summer, Summer. And she didn't, I listened for a minute, I didn't hear nothing. So I went like this, because this is how I would get down here.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you want to come down here or not.
You know, I got to be tiny to get in there.
No, you should.
Can we come in from the other side?
Well, we can, but it'd make more sense if you went this way.
Okay, I'll follow you. Oh, man. Good.
I wouldn't
My
follow
6 foot
her.
husband can fit down here, you can.
Huh?
My husband's 6 foot, I know if he could fit, you can.
This. Oh, my gosh. Way to go.
This is mine.
Did you guys see that? I'll play it again.
And then hers is on the other side.
Oh, okay, in the basement.
Yeah, in the basement.
Well, this makes sense now, see?
And then I yelled, I said, Summer, Summer. And she didn't, I listened for a minute, I didn't hear nothing. So I went like this, because this is how I would get down here.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you want to come down here or not.
You know, I got to be tiny to get in there.
No, you should.
Can we come in from the other side?
Well, we can, but it'd make more sense if you went this way.
Okay, I'll follow you. Oh, man. Good grief,
No, I know
girl.
if my 6 foot husband can fit down here, you can.
Huh?
My husband's 6 foot, I know if he could fit, you can.
This. Oh, my gosh.
You see that on the TV? This woman is taking off her clothes. Don installed drywall. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was assuming they fed it. I saw a dog bowl by one of the dogs. That's why. But yes, as soon as he went down the stairs, the camera picked that up, guys. It was on the TV in hers and Don's bedroom, and clothes are being taken off. Cameraman
This is mine.
actually goes back
My
to
husband's
it.
room.
Okay,
See?
And over here, well, it's a mess again.
that's all right.
But this is where Summer and little Waylon was, because Waylon's only 9,
Okay.
and they stayed down here. And these are all her.
What a gorgeous place for a 5-year-old to live. Wonderful bedroom. Girls Gone Wild. Okay. Oh, man. So, in my opinion, that's disturbing. It's very disturbing. Breaks my heart that Summer had to live like that. And those other 3 boys.
her toys, all her Paw Patrols,
All her movies. She's got a movie about the
The
Savior.
boys I brought back down here after she went missing because I didn't want them upstairs by themselves anymore.
Okay. And this is all her toys.
These are all her toys. All these toys that are down here are dang are all hers, except for like the trucks and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the game system. That's the boys'.
Okay.
But them are all her toys.
And she's really into Paw Patrol. I see
Yeah,
that.
I've been collecting from day one. And these are all her little ponies that we've bought. And then these are them girls that she likes. Them new fashion, I don't know what they are, little princesses or whatever. She's like all kinds. Here's one of them bracelets.
Oh, that's just one of them. What do they call these? Oh, this is little pony bracelets.
Yeah, I don't know what they were really called, but she liked them, and so I just every time I go to the garage sale, I'd buy her what she wanted.
Okay.
You know, whenever I got a little bit of money, I spend it on the kids.
Yeah, this is her.
Okay, here's the other thing. Summer's been missing for about 3 weeks at this point. What is your thoughts about Candace's demeanor? I really want to know. And exactly. Well, she wanted something. I had the money, I'd buy it for her. I mean, guys, I don't care if it's 3 weeks, 2 months. I would be distraught if my 5-year-old was missing. Yeah, he did a really good job at that, didn't he, Melissa? He was, I mean, can you imagine when he saw that hole? And what did he say to her? He said, "Oh, okay, well, now this makes more sense, doesn't it?" I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you didn't say, "Oh my God, what?" I mean, I would have looked and said, "This is the way your daughter gets down in the basement? This is the way you guys go downstairs?" I mean, I wouldn't have been able to contain myself. But he said, "Oh, okay, well, this makes more sense now, doesn't it?" He was very good with her, very good with her. He did not let on anything that he might have been thinking, which you can only imagine what he was thinking, right? She's living her best life. Yeah, she doesn't seem like a mother whose daughter just went missing. Yeah, well, he did. Yes, he did. He asked, "Can we go down the other way?" He was probably scared he was going to get stuck in there, right? Not only that, she went down before him. I mean, I would have been a little, I know she's a woman, right? But I would have been a little bit scared of going down there myself. I mean, I'm just saying. Yeah, I would not have gone in that basement. He was determined to find everything he could. I really give him a lot of credit for that. He must not have felt any fear from Candace, but I gotta tell you, she went down before him. I wouldn't have done it. I would not have done it. I would have been afraid because he didn't know what happened to Summer at this point, right? Didn't know what he was going to find down there. I give him a lot of credit for what he did.
This is, I understand her now.
Yeah.
Even better. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is really important.
Yeah, I come down and I searched. I looked up underneath the beds under there. We can't really get on. I can't get under there.
Yeah.
But I looked under there, looked under every blanket I could possibly look under.
Yep.
And then I come over here and I looked on one side and see nowhere. And I don't recall if this was locked or not. I don't recall that.
Okay.
But I know, it's hard on me. But I know I did come out here and I said, "Summer," because sometimes she'll sit right here and just sit here and play just for, And Usually when she comes out and she goes directly that way up to the swing.
Oh, okay. So this is like her.
Yeah, she
Where
just
she
walks.
come running out.
So there was a road there. Did you see that? Somebody could have been sitting in that road. Was Don sitting in that road and took her then? Because the dogs probably wouldn't bark with Don. And then the boys wouldn't have known anything, right? I mean, this is interesting to say the least, right? So it does make sense to me that she could have even walked a little bit, right? Because then she's on the opposite side of where her mother was, right? So her mother wouldn't have seen her out this way. And that road leads to the shed by the main road. Yeah. So Don could have gotten her from there and taken her away. The boys went to work with him. Why were they home if he didn't bring them back? Oh, okay. And then I don't know, guys. You know, this is tough because it is kind of like Sebastian's case, you know. Sebastian got home, and from there we don't know really what happened to him other than the 3 a.m. flashlight and car, right? But we don't really know what went on, who took him. But we do know somebody went back to that house, which was probably Katie. So, yeah. Her scent ended a few feet from the door. Oh, I don't know. See, I still got more to learn. So then Don could have picked her up. Kind of like there was no scent for Sebastian. You would think so, right? Her scent would have been there as she walked to that swing all the time. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Did I see the picture of her by the barrel that said for sale? No. No, I did not. Oh, that's awful. I think mom or dad did something with her. Sold her. Kind of the same thing as Sebastian. That's what I think. Because how else would she have gotten out? Seriously. Some of those photos they took of her could have been used for potential buyers. Yeah. This case has a lot of players, rumors, and inconsistencies. Just like Sebastian's case. And isn't it interesting that Chris talks about this case? But here's my problem, guys. we have a child that's missing. 4 years. She went missing when she was 5. She would now be 9 years old in February of this past year. I hear you, K9. I hear you. Yep. And Hong did say that the investigators following leads found information about Summer. And that is one of the reasons why. All right, I got to look up that picture. Summer Wells by a barrel. Am I going to be able to find that picture by saying that? Oh. That's sick. All right. I will show it. That is really sick, guys. There's actually even a video that shows it. There you go. Look at how dirty she is. It's rainy. She's barefooted in that. I hope so too. I hope so too. And if there's any good about investigations going on, is that across the United States, there seems to be, at least on the FBI level, a real push regarding SA trafficking, right? I think, the new FBI director, Hash Patel, there's a real push with Pam Bondi, and they're trying to let traffickers know this is not okay, and they're taking them down, but I think it's gone on for so long that it's huge and it's deep, right? And it's scary. I didn't see anything about Hunter's mom. I guess I'm going to have to look at that next. They were interviewed in the front yard, not the porch. I'll have to look at that next. I just didn't know. I saw Hunter's name come up, right? But I didn't know how he played into everything, right? When you're coming into it new and they're dropping names, you're like, wait, where does he come in, right? So Hunter actually reported that Candace had abused him. And she's not in jail. I mean, seriously, guys, if you had Girls Gone Wild on your TV downstairs, would you bring an interviewer as important as Chris McDonough? And Oh my God. I gotta laugh because otherwise I'd cry, guys. Would you bring an interviewer like Chris McDonough into your basement to see that on your big screen TV? You know, guys, you look at their home, but they sure had enough TVs, didn't they? Flat screens. And the one in that bedroom was a big screen. The great grandma said the time Summer died. Oh man. And when you look at that terrain, that little girl could be anywhere. In heck, they could have taken her off the property and nobody would know, right? It just, how does this happen? How does this happen? Now, I'm thinking right now of even Suzanne Simpson, mother of 4, gets in a fight with her husband the night she disappears. Her DNA is found on his chainsaw. He is, going to trial for her red rum, but he has never told anybody where he put her, and they cannot find her. Why won't he just say where she is? Right? He's going on trial for red rum for her. Why won't he, at least for his children, 2 adult, 2 that are young? Even his own brother is begging him publicly in the media to tell where he put his wife. And he still won't do it. There were rumors of them giving the children and grooming them. Oh, that's awful. I I don't know. It's just sad. I I feel like I've been sheltered my 66 years. Well, let's say 65 because it's been a year since I've really dove into Sebastian's and other cases. Sure. I'll put up her mischievous little picture. How's that? Is that better? I love that little picture of her. I think to me it shows her personality, right? I love that. I love that. The porch one is the interview room. I'm going to watch more of Chris McDonough with this case for sure because I think that he does stick by the facts as closely as he can, I think, right? And he's really good with interviewing people. He's non-accusatory, right? He does a really good job of that, and because of that, he gets them to talk more, right? See, like how he said in the basement, this helps me to understand her so much better. Thank you. Right? And it got Candace talking. The porch interviews are good. Okay. All right. I'll have to look them up. I appreciate you guys helping me to learn more about this case. Here's my question. Who dressed Summer for this Cute little red dress and the bow. Because I don't see Candace doing that. Was it Grandma? Because I yeah, I mean, I just don't see Candace doing that. I mean, I guess I could be wrong, right? But to me, the sad thing is that most are looking for a body and not a living young girl. Yeah, I'm still on the fence. I don't know if she was trafficked or if she's gone. Either, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. What are you guys thinking? 1 in the chat if you think she's dead. 2 in the chat if you think she's been trafficked. 3 in the chat if you think it's something else. One if you think she's dead. 2 if you think she's trafficked. 3 if you think it's something else. Let me know what you think. I'm curious. K9 says she's gone. Katie says both 1 and 2. Factory Girl says 1. Two, Ellie found no evidence of death. Melissa thinks she's gone. And I do have to give a little bit of notice to the fact that Hong said that his investigators found something about Summer being trafficked. So, guys, help me with this. Did law enforcement bring in cadaver dogs after the fact? And here's my question about that. All those doggone other dogs, would that affect the cadaver dogs? I agree, K9. Ginger has a real heart. She does not want to believe the worst ever, and I love that about her. But yeah, I don't know. They did. They brought in cadaver dogs. So they never found anything. That's interesting. And Cindy, you think something else. Hello, Cindy, by the way. What is if you don't mind telling me, Cindy, what are your thoughts about what happened to Summer? I mean, I really want to know because I'm just learning about this case 4 years after the fact. So I'm really kind of curious as to everyone's opinion. I'm not saying anybody's right, wrong, or because I don't honestly know, right? And there's no judgment here at all. None whatsoever. You guys can always feel safe to say what you think, because we don't allow the haters in here. They go bye-bye when they come in. Yeah, I mean, none of us want to think that, right, Melissa? None of us want to think that she's gone, that she's passed away. Especially, it would have had to have been a horrific death, right? Because it couldn't have been anything good. Rumors the people from the church took her. Guys, that's always a possibility. If people from the church thought that she was being abused, I have heard of underground church people trying to help children. I've heard about it. I mean, I don't know if it. I mean, I think I've even seen a movie on it of a real life. You know how is it Hallmark that will make those real life movies, things that happened, and they make it into a movie. LDS Church. I don't know what I think about that, because there's been so much garbage going on with the LDS Church lately that it's kind of scary. When you think of Lori Vallow, they get so off their rocker, right? And yet I know that, you cannot blame the LDS Church for that, right? Because there are good people in the LDS Church that don't get all whacked out, but this kind of stuff just breaks my heart. Now, guys, I know that I think the mob crew went live at 6:30, I believe. And they're talking on the Sullivan case. He is. So I do want to share my grannyism tonight. Preventing child abuse takes more than a policy. It takes courage. And that's true, because it takes people to stand up. Most people won't go against a parent, right? And it takes people standing up to do something about it. Think about in Sebastian's case, where there's been death threats and other threats. It takes courage. It takes courage to stand up to some of this stuff. The church is hiding her along with the other. So that's what your thoughts are. Gotcha. Well, you know what, Cindy? I really hope so. I agree, Melissa. I think of the one family that, and many of you know that, Donny Osmond was my idol as a teen, and I got to see him a couple years ago. That family was LDS, and guys, in my opinion, you could not get a better family that is in the public eye, right? So I know that there are good people in LDS. I have a cousin who is LDS. So, guys, exactly. There's good and bad in every church, right? Community that cares and not turn a blind eye. Exactly. So, sincerely, I hope and I pray that both Sebastian and Summer are in a place with good people, church people, whatever the Adventist church where Summer went to. Gotcha. To me, that would be the very best case scenario, because then we would know that they're being taken care of and given what they truly need, right? I hate to think of either one of them being hurt or harmed in any way. And that would be the best case scenario, is that someone, church, otherwise, is just took them in under their wings and they're hiding them and they're taking really good care of them. That would be incredible, right? That would be the best case scenario for those children. Because in Summer's case, what does she have to come home to? Right. So if she's, yeah, wherever she is, I pray is better than the Wells home. So if she is being well taken care of, all her needs are being met physically, financially, spiritually, emotionally, then we don't need to see that she's okay. Right? If she's really being taken care of. Sebastian, though, I don't know. I mean, I pray that he's being taken care of, but it would be awesome to see him home with his dad, in my opinion. On the other hand, if his dad had to fight the proud feet in court for them, then I would pray that Sebastian would remain being taken care of wherever he is, if that's the case, because I don't know. That one's a hard one, right? But I do pray the same for Sebastian, that he's being taken care of somewhere. Incredible. Incredible. I heard that the Summer Wells case was bad. I didn't, honestly, guys, I didn't anticipate this, so really. I really didn't. I really didn't. Have Candace and if law enforcement does not think that she's dead, Summer Wells, have they lost custody of her as well as the boys? Or can they not do that until she's found? I mean, there's a thought, right? Yeah. Well, it's a little bit different because law enforcement has already come out and said that he thinks they're gone, right? So, I mean, in my opinion, that's the first time law enforcement has ever come out and said that they think they're gone. That they don't believe they're alive. When law enforcement tells you that, it's hard to have any hope for anything else, right? Law enforcement has not done that in the Summer Wells case, to my knowledge, or in Sebastian's case, I'm sure of. They've not said that. So, Lily and Jack, a little bit different thing. Well, and it's like I said, I think that tubes should be tied and a vasectomy done, because I don't think those two people should not be able to procreate at all. I know that's probably not a popular opinion, but when you have 8 children and they've all been taken away, obviously something's wrong there. Yeah, if they say that, there's a good chance they're right. You know, it's very rare, I think, for law enforcement to come out and say that they think they're dead. So when they say that, it's hard to have any other thoughts other than they're gone. You know. But guys, thank you for helping me today with this. I really appreciate it so very much. Probably end up going on over to the mob crew to see what he has to say. I know that tomorrow we'll be watching Mr. Yummy has put out another video on Lily and Jack, so we'll probably do that one. And guys, as always, if anything happens in the Sebastian Rogers case, you know that I will cover it. Even if it means going live at a different time, I will cover it. Because I know where our hearts are, right? We care about Sebastian. So thank you guys for being here. Please, 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 if you haven't already, hit the like button on your way out. And we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks so much for being here. See you later. Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at granniescrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.